You know, I have not, but Bob pointed it out to me once. We drove by it once and Bob pointed it out. Yeah.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. We're glad you made it to our live stream.
Okay. And are there, have you noticed anything lately, or have you bought something lately, that their sizes are a little different?
Well, I never can get tops that. I think that's getting worse.
I know.
Yeah, I got tops the same size as I was getting before, and they're too small.
Wilma.
And the ones I had before still fit. And they get washed and trucked and everything, so. Yeah, that's too bad. I'm also back now.
Yeah.
The large is.
Well, that's
Right. We stayed the same or got worse, but it's all in there. Yeah, and, 3? Yeah, let's see. I'm at least 2.5. Oh, no, I must be 4.
Actually, there's a little bit more to it.
Yeah, it's, you bet.
She and I are represented.
So they're pretty cool about it.
I don't know. Oh, wow. We're in Nova
They got a lighter in there, Bob, too.
Well, everything's.
I don't know there. I've never seen it. Well, I've not built that much in the corporate world.
So anyway, as long as I know it's not.
I do believe it's changing.
Because I got two different pieces.
Yes, I know.
One of them is fine.
And typically I don't change. Because I've been sorry. Counting down the days till school's over here.
Just so darn simple.
No, that was one good idea. That's Friday. How are you?
Well, let's see what looks good. I don't know, halfway anyway.
How about you? Well, I never had trouble. No, I no, I don't even say that protected, right?
Oh,
Well, it'll.
you would actually, it would improve your breathing and your health and everything. If you just say, it really would. Just warm up every day. Just warm up every day.
Yeah, I should do that. It would be.
So after the talk, service, you break, you talk to me, come back when we gather.
Well, I mean.
Okay. Then, so that they have pressure or whatever they are. It's so wonderful.
That way we
Are
can
you
share
still,
with on the Zoom.
have lunch over at,
Northern Sky, no. It's lovely. Those 2 years, it was great. It was huge change. Because I started in April of 2020.
Yeah. I'll try to time it out.
Never once was there.
Okay.
Public event. And, so.
Okay.
So I'm, but Northern Skies is great. Well, I haven't left. I'm still in.
but I wonder, I guess I.
Oh, very Well, good, and he's doing the right thing.
Well,
Yeah, here's the book he loves to read.
I mean, not like it was a whole thing. I mean, I was
Yeah, I know, look at it was.
I know you like that. It's just.
Yeah, bad things, they come back.
Praise is smiling up there.
Okay, but let's go over here.
So there's an order of service in that chair. For you.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Then I'll just go up my notes. Thank you so much, Mark, for doing this and having me. I know we're like back.
Well, I appreciate you coming. This is really important for us.
It's important for all of us.
Yes, it
All
is.
of us. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
And we have had quite some turmoil the last week and a half.
I can only imagine, but that's okay. That's where growth comes out of that, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you can't grow without a little pain.
Right, for sure, sure. Hello. Good morning to you.
Hi. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, I am Marilyn Sonia, and I'm going to be doing an audio recording. There's the video recording, but I'll do
Okay.
the audio recording of the service, so it'll just be as message. And we do post that on our website, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Sure. It's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And I'm wondering if I can just do a mic check with you. I do
Sure.
run the sound system, and I can adjust accordingly.
Marilyn, I wanted to use a lapel mic, I think.
Testing, testing.
So you won't be
Stand here.
Yeah, stand as you're going to.
Okay. So can you hear me if I'm right here? Not quite. Not quite. Okay, so maybe.
Maybe better.
How is this? Can you hear me?
Go again.
Now?
Introduce yourself.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day. A little bit louder. Okay. How about now? Better? Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay, so.
Well, you know, only for the Chinese. I'll use the hand mic instead. That's fine. No, Marilyn, go. There we go.
Sure.
I'm steering away from this. Well,
you know, it depends on who.
Yeah, I have something. Yeah, but it is like.
Oh, you know what? I need some water desperately. Do you want a water? Huh?
I have not on Monday. It's like really, yeah.
When we finish, when after Joyce and you start, you should turn the phone off and put it up by the Chinese. Oh, no. That's not right.
You know, we are booked for the one reverse.
The announcement.
Well, we had that plan
Yeah.
for
Right
April.
after the, I will meet you at the chapel.
So then, from the family, I'm gone. So our plan is
So what I will do is
Thank you for coming to speak to us today. Appreciate it so very much. Thank you.
Here, do you want some water, sir?
These are copies of the things.
Oh, you're not thirsty?
And then I the singers, so that, right there.
Really?
It's really nice to meet you.
Okay, questions?
No questions.
Thoughts?
You know, I feel like you will develop a nice there.
Yeah.
I have things I want to say and share.
Hey there. Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna, just so you know, I'm gonna start with
At least.
certification in Lulu Hudson.
Maybe the letter T is going to really end that.
And this is my remarks are more like an acknowledgement statement. It's not the first step. It sort of defines the beginning. Yeah.
Hopefully Tuesday was talking, this Tuesday, yes, there's a bit of a question mark about where I can put in, but I think I do it right, it's almost like, so we'll see, sure. Oh, that's fine. It's over there, it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what we were hoping for. I think we initiated this. He's doing landscape right above you.
Yeah. Okay, I know. Yeah, like, I choose what I want to do.
Actually, it's off to the place.
Not yet, he's got his house, the house is his, and, so he wants to do some fixing up things.
Just words on it. Yeah.
Like 3/4 of a mile away or a mile away, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's wonderful.
Generally, we need to, so that we need to create volume while you're talking.
I have not. I have researched and everything. And I'll
Yeah. You know, I hear my questions that people say, so what?
You hope to, right? Right, Benny boy? Yeah. No. You should.
Oh. Honestly, it's the way it is.
I don't want to forget to give you this.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you for being here.
Thank you, Anna. Oh, okay, okay.
Because she's not a member of our church. She is a blessing. She blesses so.
Very kind.
He wasn't even a lot, actually.
We're going to lunch afterwards.
I might take one to kind of. So I might just do that.
Well, the offer is there. Oh, really?
So, I might take it.
Well, I wish I would have watched it.
And they said, so much for study.
No, actually, most of what we do
Hi, dear, how's it going? No, I'm like watching. I didn't want to read it. But yes, it was amazing.
Whatever church they belong to.
No, yeah, certainly.
Yes. It's too early in the season. In the middle of summer, Sunday is kind of exchange day. Probably should try to find ways to put up a large every year.
Right?
Well, I don't know.
This time of year, maybe 100, somewhere 150. usually have a minute of silence. Whether you want to stand up there or sit down here, it's up to you. And then you move to your message. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. On this very special Mother's Day, we especially want to honor the mothers amongst us. If you are a mother, we welcome you. If you have a mother, we welcome you. If you have two mothers, we welcome you. If you are very close to your mother, we welcome you. If you are estranged from your mother, we especially welcome you. If you are struggling to become a mother or have resigned to not becoming a mother, we hold a special tenderness for you today. My name is Mark Richards. I am your service leader. I want to remind us that this service is being live streamed. There are people there. Say hello. And it is being recorded for future viewing. This morning, we are welcome to our podium Starlet Thompson, a woman of the Potawatomi people who is committed to bringing freedom and dignity to her nation and thereby to all Native Americans living in America today. She descends from the Otter clan of the Forest Potawatomi and Santa Ynez Chumash nations. I probably butchered those names. I apologize. She works as an educator, a scholar, an advocate, a dancer, and a mother. I first met Starla at the Door Community Auditorium when she spoke last March, and we are grateful that she has taken time to be with us on this Mother's Day. It is our tradition to welcome newcomers and longtime absentees. And if you are willing, please stand, and when the microphone comes to you, please tell us your name and where you are from. Please wait for the mic so that the folks at home can hear you.
I think I need the mic.
Well, the folks at home won't be able to hear you.
My name is Tom Howard. I'm a longtime absentee. I'm a summer resident, got here a little bit early this year, and noticed a lot more houses through the trees without the leaves on them. I had a mother, and she was, I think, a charter member of this congregation back in the 80s. I lost her. I live in Rhode Island, and I'll be here for a few weeks.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Hi, my name's Sylvie. I'm visiting from Milwaukee this weekend.
Welcome. Thank you.
My name is Jenny Finnell. I'm a member of the Manitowoc Unitarian Fellowship and visit up here now and then, and I always enjoy attending your services.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. Okay. So now we come to announcements. If you have something that you need us to know, something related to the fellowship or thereby.
I'm Vicki Ash. I am a member of the 25th Anniversary Task Force. And one of the things the task force did for the community is get these lovely tote bags. And there are some left. If you haven't picked one up, if you're visiting and would like one. And I remind people to not let them overload it at the pig, or you'll never get it out of your car and into the house. But they're very handy, and they're right there on the table, and anybody who wants one, be sure to take
Thank you.
Hi, Pam Good. Yesterday, as part of the Climate Change Coalition, we gave away trees in Bailey's Harbor, the Dixons and us and some of our neighbors. We had about 24 trees left over, cedar and white pine. They're not large, but anyway, they're very nice trees. They're outside, so please, as you leave today, pick one for family, or if there's still some left, take 2. Thanks.
Good morning, I'm Marilyn Hansodia, not Bruce Nelson, but he did ask me to make the announcement. There's an amazing opportunity Wednesday, the 11th of May at 9 a.m. That is meeting at the Brew Coffee House in Ellison Bay, having a little social time, and then moving north and cleaning up our section of the Highway 42, which we do several times each season. Lots of treasures to be found. Do let Bruce or myself know, and there's also a sign-up sheet with absolutely no names on it in the foyer. So please help out if you can. Takes about an hour.
Hi, I'm Buttons Wolf, and I am part of the Plant-Powered Eating Group. And there is a display in the lobby and has our binder in it, a sample of it. There also is a binder kit. And I think there might be one binder actually started for someone if you would like to take one. And also, since spring is here and we've got the farmers market starting to open and things coming up, we've got spring veggies. So if you have recipes, you would like to share some of yours, we really would like to have your recipes because that's what keeps the Duff Notes going in your e-class. Thank you.
Just to say after Marilyn, yes, we do indeed find some treasures. Years ago, we found a full unwrapped pound of bacon.
Thank you. My name is Carrie Link, and for anyone who doesn't have a smart television and would like to stream things, I have a Roku thing that you're welcome to if you would like it. If you'd like it, let me know. I let you have it. Thank you.
Oh, did you want that? Terry.
I'll make Getting to work up here.
Yeah. Sorry, we didn't plan ahead. Colleen, if you want to say anything, I just wanted to let everybody know, some of you are aware that over Memorial Day weekend, there will be a water walk that's going to take place down the peninsula to Green Bay. It's still, heading's still coming together, but this is something that the Native women of our area have been working on. It was in the works a couple of years ago, and then COVID happened and everything went on hold. So, but it is happening Memorial Day weekend, and details and logistics are still being worked out. If anybody is interested in participating or helping on the logistics side of things, we will need, possibly we might need transportation, we might need lodging, and we might need food for the walkers. So
we do.
We do.
There's no might about it.
I knew you should have been the one to make the announcement. But anything else to share?
Just, it's about time, isn't it? That's all. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Colleen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you can contact me at Chief Oshkosh if you want to get on the list or anything.
Yeah. So contact Colleen at Chief Oshkosh for more information.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right, is it one on? I don't have enough hands to do all of this. So we light our chalice with words adapted from Lone Man, Isnalawika, a Teton Sioux. He says, I have seen that in any great undertaking, it is not enough for one to simply depend upon oneself. Wow, isn't it nice to have the choir back? So now, if you will stand as you are willing and able, join in the unison affirmation and the doxology to be hummed heartily. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. Now, if you are bearing a weight that you would care to share with us, if you have a lightness that you would care to share with us, we come to our time for joys and concerns.
Lynn Lees, if you would please keep my younger sister Julie in your thoughts. She was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's and has just transitioned to a memory care facility in Oregon. Thanks.
Good morning, Hank Woolst. Our son Taylor is a Lawrencian, and he's got some kind of an event at Lawrence, I think, next week, Sunday. We won't be here because we're going to be tending to him, but that'll be the first time that he's visited Door County in 2.5 years. He lives in New York City, so we're delighted that he's coming to visit with us.
Well, most of you are probably very happy our pledge drive is over, and but I do want to thank everyone for your loyalty to the fellowship. This year we're in the process of tallying things up, and we know we're not going to make our goal, but we're in the process of figuring out what that means to help us get there and do what we need to do. We're close enough to, we're not going to have to turn the lights off, so we're just fine. But I got a call the other night from Judy Wyden, and I see it was in the release, the e-blast this week too, about Arnie's passing. And I just think about one thing I remember about Arnie, and the quote that was put in the e-blast of from Arnie's obituary, I thought was so appropriate. Because when I remember Arnie coming here, when they were up here, up until the last time he came, which was probably pre-COVID. But almost every time he was here, Arnie would get up and give some meaningful plea for us to be more human to everyone else. And I thought that's what I remember most about Arnie.
Thank you, Bob. Okay. And just as a reminder, if you haven't gotten your pledge forms in, it's not too late. It's never too late. Okay, so we will now take the offertory. This is, so in our 25th anniversary year, we are collecting this quarter for Help Door County. And any funds that are donated today that are unmarked for other purposes will be donated to Help Door County. I don't know where we are in this span on that.
It ends in July. We're just 1 month in.
We're just, yeah, okay, so we're into our second month. Okay. If you have come to help me, you are wasting your time. If you have come because your liberation is bound together with mine, let us walk together. Leela Watson, an artist of the Murri people of Australia, describes better than I ever could the relationship of an ally. This morning, I invite us to consider beginning a new journey together. It's not a journey that requires us to change direction. It's not a journey that requires us to put down one burden and pick up another. It's a journey taken with a new awareness, a new consciousness of the world we walk through. It is the journey of the ally. An ally is one who walks alongside, one who accepts the request made by our partners, one whose liberation is bound together with the ones who lead. For the past few months, the Social Justice Committee has been working to write a statement that acknowledges those who once occupied the land that our building still stands on, who are still among us today. We wanted to publish a statement that we know who came before us, that expresses our gratitude for their care of the land and that commits us to continue that care. We attended workshops, we consulted with experts on Native American culture, both within and without our fellowship. We presented our statement to leadership for their consideration and guidance. We thought we had it right. And then, very late in the process, a new voice appeared, which caused us to pause. We realized that this land acknowledgement statement is not the first step of a journey, but a declaration of where we stand at the start of the journey. The path we would walk down is not clear. It is not straight. The destination, if there is one, is not visible. We must place a stake as a reference to mark our progress. That stake must be solid, it must be clear, and it must be accepted by all those with whom we travel. The stake marks this place as holy ground. This morning, Starlet Thompson will discuss what it means to be an ally of Native Americans on their path to freedom. My invitation is to listen as if we already wear the cloak of the ally. I have no idea what she might request of us. If at the end of the morning we decide that it is not a cloak that we are willing to wear, then we can take it off. As the dominant culture, it is our privilege to do so. There will be no shame. There will be no guilt. Just the open and honest awareness that we choose not to walk beside our Native American friends. To be an ally is to continue the journey in a new awareness of our relationships with those we walk beside, those with whom we share holy ground.
holy
Good morning. I'd like to offer a prayer right now to start our morning. Bonjour, Gichimanadu, Wabangija Kwe knows one, Mano Gijagud, Miigwech, Mano Buma Diswin. Good morning, Creator God. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this good life. Creator God, thank you for the people that are here today in this place. And I ask that we come together in a way of understanding, acceptance, and love. Creator God, get you money due on this day as we come together and honor our mothers. I ask that we look and acknowledge and honor the reverence that we have for the sacred female and the importance that it plays in our life and our being. The mothers, the females, that spirit that is a life giver to all, that is our first teacher. Creator God, we acknowledge them today and grateful for their presence. Thank you. Oh, Miigwech. Good morning, Bonjour. Wabangija Kwe knows one, Gedede Ndodam, Stone Lake, Isen Kagamok Ndonjaba, Elsie Johnson, Nokomis, Bodwami Kwe, Anishinaabe Kwe and Dow. Good morning. My English name is Starlet Thompson. My spirit name translates to the first light that breaks the night woman in Potawatomi. I am from the Otter Clan of the Forest County Potawatomi and Santa Ynez Chumash Nations. My grandmother was Elsie Johnson from Stone Lake, Wisconsin. So I am an educator, a scholar, an advocate, a jingle dress dancer, and a mother. This is Benjamin, he's the baby, but I have 4 young men that I'm a mother to on this Mother's Day, so it's really nice for him to be here with me. And some of the work that I engage in currently is I'm a research fellow with the University of Chicago, focused on telling the stories, bringing forth the stories of Indigenous women, specifically Potawatomi women. And the contributions to the great city of Chicago, past and present, which we get into a bit about today. I do work as an independent consultant for Native and non-Native organizations to further the understanding of our Indigenous history and culture. So I just want to say Chi Miigwech for having me this morning and making this time and space for me and my family, and for your kind attention and engagement. So the introduction that I provided is an integral part of our oral tradition, which keeps and protects our culture and history as Native American people. And this history tells us that we're the Anishinaabe, or the original people. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. And as the original stewards, we carry a sacred responsibility in relationship with the land. And I know land acknowledgement is somewhat the focus for today, and we'll talk a bit about that, but land acknowledgement really is a relationship. And a relationship cannot happen first without understanding. So I'd like to share my story as a way for you to have insight into Indigenous worldview. Land acknowledgement is an Indigenous way of life practiced for time immemorial. Our traditional teachings instill humility, gratitude, reciprocity with the knowledge that we are the last of Creator's beings. As Creator's most pitiful beings, we understand we need all other orders of life for survival, including land. The land is a source of clans, food, medicine, plants, and sacred spaces. So our homelands, which include Door County and the Great Lakes region, hold a deep connection to Creator. And this connection provides lessons for sustaining that sacred relationship and roadmap for living in all of accordance with creation. Therefore, I'd like to acknowledge the lands that which we work, play, and learn are the traditional homelands to 12 Indigenous nations that call Wisconsin home, as well as the nations that were forcibly removed. Over 500 years of genocide, militarized removal, and subsequent federal assimilation policies separated Indigenous people from our homelands. This separation was the start of a great divide with the natural world in this country and many others, a price we're paying today, and one that has fully yet come to fruition. The fact that Indigenous people have endured and continue to act as stewards is a remarkable act of perseverance. So it's with gratitude and intentionality that we honor the relationship Indigenous people have with the land, but not just with our words in action. And now is the time. Our Indigenous prophecies inform us that we are entering the time of the eighth fire, in which we will either choose peace or total destruction. Therefore, I urge you to stand alongside Indigenous people as caretakers of Mother Earth for the benefit of future generations. So that's a little bit about my view on land acknowledgements. And today I want to share with you Indigenous knowledge, which I'm Anishinaabe, which includes Potawatomi, Ojibwe, Ottawa people, and other nations. And those teachings are the foundation of our talk. This is, the following is my perspective, right? And the lessons that I received. I don't speak for all Indigenous people. This is purely the teachings I received from my relatives and my life experience. In our oral tradition, Creator sent 7 grandfathers and helpers to help man provide lessons for this journey of life. The grandfathers bestowed upon man 7 gifts, as you have 7 principles that this fellowship follows. Humility, honesty, bravery, respect, wisdom, and love. And at the pinnacle of this is truth. And that's where I think that we all need to start with, is the truth. So in the dictionary, and I often have this issue because I work with my language and I work with our teachings, that the more that I immerse myself and am led by spirit, English seems really far-fetched. Right? So I find myself often having to look up words because they just seem so, that can't be possibly right. So I was looking up the definition of truth, right? And it's closely associated with the terms of acceptance and reality. And as I thought about this and our experience as Indigenous people in this world, I wasn't sure I agreed. Because from my experience, truth is about who is telling that truth, right? For instance, we all grow up learning about the truth of Christopher Columbus, right? So, this is not truth. This is really perspective, right? And what they want you to believe, which is acceptance. So much of the work I do in Milwaukee and Chicago is bringing forward that the first ladies of those areas, those places, were Indigenous women, okay? And so I call them the matriarchs of truth. Why they have been erased over time is intentional. But unfortunately, regardless of where we came from, we weren't afforded these truths, and that's not fair to any of us, right? So the erasure of Indigenous women from history is intentional. And this is important. And often I get asked, why does that matter? So why is that important? Especially on Mother's Day, I think it's very important. There's an Indigenous scholar, his name is Nick Estes. And he says, our history is the future. We see the world as circular and interconnected. And to understand our past is to rewrite our future. Now, on the contrary, Eurocentric perspectives see the world as linear, right? Which negates accountability with the separation of time. When lies happen on a macro level, it becomes much more insidious because those lies become systematic oppressors. So to be authentic, we must be seekers of the truth and protectors of the truth on all levels. So I want to get into a little bit about my personal story. But on an individual level, this happens much with programming. The programming that we receive all throughout our lives. As very small children like Benjamin, we observe them, and even smaller, and you can tell they're directly connected to Creator. Just spend time watching them. It's a really beautiful thing. We've all seen it in one form or another. They move throughout life life uninterrupted and without malice. This connection is what we need to return to our sacredness. This is always available to us. We have just forgotten because of the lies that we believe about ourselves. From the beginning, we are taught how we should behave, what our bodies should look like, what kind of car we should drive, what kind of careers we should have, even down to what our lawns should look like, right? Our will is infringed upon, just like that. And we carry that in our entire lives. And after a lifetime of programming from all these outside sources, the voice in our head we believe is our identity is not our own. And can even be contrary to different programming from different sources. To me, that's a perfect environment for mental health issues. Adopting this programming is an abandonment of our authentic selves. And many individuals that are well-intended and doing the best that they can to navigate the programming that was handed down to them did this, right? So, hold no ill will toward them. Just identify it and move past it, knowing that it's not yours to carry. So I'd like to share a little bit about my story and in understanding, hopefully you'll understand a bit about, because in my story, even shocking as it may be, it's typical to many Indigenous people and families' story. And it's what intergenerational trauma looks like. And we're not talking about the distant past, right? We're talking like less than the last 100 years. So my grandmother, Elsie, I mentioned her in my introduction, Elsie Johnson. She was born in the Forest County Potawatomi Nation in Wisconsin. She had 5 daughters. Talk about a strong matriarch line, right? Grandma was also a boarding school survivor, as was her mother before her, Isabel Whitefish. And does everyone here know about the boarding schools? Okay, so, very traumatic experience. It was a militarized assimilation effort ran by the military, by the army. The sentiment was kill the Indian, save the man. During this time, much of our language was lost because they were forbidden to speak their language. Our hair was cut off, and they were beaten and regularly abused. So this is not something new. This is something they've researched. It's come out of reports. We found out about the Canadian burials at the residential schools, right? No school should have a cemetery on the grounds, right? So this is my great-grandmother and my grandmother's story, that they survived this experience. Okay, so let's fast forward. My mother was born in 1959. Here again, to her people, the Potawatomi in Wisconsin, and as an infant, she came down with tuberculosis, and in that day, they put you into a sanatorium. She was in a metal crib in this facility, and was already living without, a mother's touch because there was not allowed. She says that she was there for about 2 years, and my relatives visited her frequently, was hoping for her to be released soon. And one day they came and visited her, and she was gone. She had been stolen and illegally adopted and removed from her people completely and taken to Nevada. So as we're seeing over time, it's the same method
but just it has a different name, it has a different face, right? So that was a big problem, illegal adoptions and the stealing of Indigenous children. That's why we have the Indian Child Welfare Act. So my mother was raised with pretty traumatic, extreme, unspeakable abuse. It's not something that anyone in our family can talk about because it's severe. Unfortunately, at her age, she has a really hard time functioning because of this abuse and having relationships. I can't imagine not only not having love as a child, the absence of love, but having that extreme abuse. So she endured that, and as she stepped into her adulthood and motherhood, she struggled with her identity. She struggled with guilt and shame. Those are all things that you carry with you, even though they're not have anything to do with you, right? And your will. They were imposed on her. And so she struggled with her motherhood. She struggled with substance abuse. And the first 7 years of my life were pretty traumatic. As she was in and out of foster care and in that abusive home, I too was in and out of foster care. We were homeless. As I was an infant, I spent my first Christmas in the Salvation Army in Chicago. So things are very chaotic. And I remember during that time there being a constant state of uncertainty. And so an abuse took place, traumatic abuse, that took me a very long time to heal from. As an adult, I experienced more abuse of all forms. I was married at some point, and my husband abandoned me and my children. My father suddenly died in a car accident, a motorcycle accident. And so, these are hard truths. And for a very long time, I let it debilitate me. I told myself that these trauma stories over and over again, I told them over and over again to myself, and even made them the reasons when I failed, right? Or when I messed up. And so I came to the point when I, realized that I was not experiencing this trauma in the present moment. So why was I allowing it to continue to harm my life and creating situations that were not for me, creating more trauma? And it was because I believed that lie, that I was my trauma, that I was stuck in that moment in time. And because these things happened to me, I was unworthy of love or happiness. This cannot be further from the truth. So one day I had this epiphany because of a certain event that happened when I was about 4 years old. And I won't get into the specifics of that event because my little son is in this room. But it was very traumatic. It was a breaking point for my mother. And it was a very dark and scary night where perhaps I think that my mother was suicidal, that she would not live past that evening. And it resulted in me being alone and abandoned and by myself at 4 years old. And so when I was in that, I remember when I was in that place and in that situation and in that evening, I was really afraid for my mother. And I was really afraid that we had lost her because, I was her caretaker for the first 7 years of my life. She was in so much pain and hurt that's what it was, and that was my place. So I was really concerned for her, and I remember being, very small and being overwhelmed with that feeling of fear. And when I was sitting there, I felt this presence come around me and just envelop me. And I can't explain it, but it felt like what I imagine unconditional, pure love feels like. It's something I've never felt ever again. And I fell right to sleep. And I was protected. Nothing happened to me that night, which I still don't know that happened. It was divine intervention for sure. But the point is that this memory for a long time, I told it to myself over and over again when I was unhealthy, right? When I was still in my trauma. And it wasn't until I flipped it and saw it for what it was, like how beautiful was it that I had intervention, that I felt that love and peace. Possibly some people never feel that conditional, what I imagine what happens when we ascend, when we go to Creator. And so when I saw it in that perspective, everything changed. Our teachings tell us that Creator God never wants his most precious creation to live with guilt, like Mark said, guilt, shame, or fear. It's just never supposed to be part of our stories. And I know this, and I claim this for myself. Once I learned this, I started the journey of self-love. And as an intergenerational trauma survivor, this was difficult for me. But I had years of evidence of what living a life of self-sabotage and abandonment had led to decisions that only led to more trauma. So I accept my responsibility in that. I'm not a victim. True, I'm a survivor, but I will not repeat any cycle that will lead to my self-abandonment ever again. When I changed my perspective and stopped living with those lies, I started seeing how miraculous life really was. Yes, I experienced these things, but I was also a mother to 4 healthy, beautiful boys. I was a first-generation college student. I was a self-taught dancer, jingle dress dancer, and historian. I was blessed to have a home when I didn't as an infant. I had a car when I didn't as a young mother. I was healthy, and I was a generational trauma breaker. Your authentic self is the present moment you. The present moment you is all that matters, and it's all that is real. This is the real truth. And we are so blessed. I mean, look around this room, look at the beautiful place that we're in. So all of these situations I had control over. Some of them, of course, I did not, but I wouldn't let them affect me or my life or the lives of my children. I have complete control over every situation. This is when I took my power back. I'm not going to lie, it's daily work to get over this and be a good person, a decent person sometimes. But since I'm creating my world minute by minute anyway, why not create something beautiful, right? Out of happiness and love. So, and I know that I come into these situations, I'm not the smartest person in the room or the most talented or any of that. That's not what I'm okay with all of that because I know I'm a miracle. Not because of my history, but because of this very moment. Just this moment of being here in fellowship with you, sharing my story. Breath is a miracle, and we do it 20 times a minute. I think that's a miracle. I see the beauty in that. I see my world in life is amazing, and I try to always let myself be led by spirit as a true gift. If I died today, of course I would have, we would have regrets, but I would not, going forward, I don't make any agreements with myself that allow me to live in regret, pain, or fear. So these are some of the Indigenous teachings that I have been given and helped me persevere. I know it's not exactly what we intended to speak about, but I think it's important for me to share this with you because my story, like I said before, is not unique. This is very common for Indigenous people. And so that's why you have that intergenerational trauma. And something like a land acknowledgement is good, right? It is. And it's the first step. I told Mark, it's like the handshake, right? But really, you need to be in relationship with Indigenous people. You need to understand that they have stories like my own and why they exist, right? And they've happened over time, again and again and again. Like that's the first place of understanding. So when you come into partnership or relationship with Indigenous people, perhaps you'll know that, right? But also we hold the same beliefs you do in your fellowship here, the grandfather's teachings, and so forth. So I just wanted to share my story with you. I wish I had my slides up, and maybe when we go on live, I can share more because I have things on there. But I have a picture on one of my slides, and it's of Benjamin and my son Joa and my nephew Elias and their toddlers. And I took them out to the park, and we used to go by this wooded area. It's hard to find in Milwaukee, but we have this wooded area. And I kind of let them go, and they're like waddling around, right? And they found like this little stump on the ground. It was laying long wise like that. And each of them, they sat on that little stump and just were like, you know, touching the grass and like talking to each other. They look like little old men. And it was just wonderful. And I said, oh my goodness, like that is what living in authenticity is about. They're directly connected to Creator. That's beautiful. That's how I aspire to live my life. So with that, I want to say miigwech for your time. Thank you so much.
Wow. So our closing words come from Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce. The earth is the mother of all people, and all people should have equal rights upon it. You might as well expect the rivers to run backwards, as that anyone who was born free should be contented when penned up and denied liberty to go where they please. We will have a talk back that will start, let's say, at 11:10. And Starlet will be available to answer some questions and expand a little bit more on what she has spoken. You're all welcome. There is coffee in the coffee room, in the gathering room. And thank you for coming. Go in peace.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was beautiful. Thank you.
I'm a teacher too. Made me think about
Operates a store in Egg Harbor.
I'm Oneida, I'm one of the displaced people. But you read about like myself after going to the Institute in New Mexico. My first ceremonies were down there. And then, yeah, and mostly Pueblo, but no hatchet. Then I moved to New York.
Thank you for being here. For those that are watching live, we will be starting up the Zoom in just a few minutes.